Debbie's taking notes for us today. Everybody's here. Yay, we can move along. Are we going to put that one item on the first up?
Yeah, if you're good with that, yeah, we'll do the roof first.
We have the roof.
Roof repair, yeah. Agenda Bill AB 23-54, Resolution 3140. I'll jump right to it. The Public Safety Building located on Veterans Memorial developed a roof leak that is causing interior damage to the sheetrock and insulation located next to the gym area of the East Pierce Fire and Rescue side of the facility. A repair of this portion of the roof was already budgeted for this year and next year in the 2023 budget. This repair has now become an emergency due to the extent of the damage in the building and the health concerns from staff due to the presence of mold that was recently found. In response, facilities received a quote for $24,500, not including tax, from Olympic Roofing to repair the roof, sheetrock, and remove and replace any wet insulation. So we have used Olympic Roofing on the last repair also. So they're a reliable outfit, and we've had good work from them.
How soon do they do it?
Well, once this is approved, we can contact them and they'll schedule it.
And this will be placed on the full council agenda for approval next week.
The 28th, I think, yeah.
Or at least a week out.
These kind of things that come up, the emergency types of things, doesn't the mayor have some magical power to say, yeah, that needs to be fixed?
So we still have to come back for your approval. The emergency provisions allow us to do like a sole source. So like when we did to bring it up when the camera got lost in the sewer main, we did that with the emergency provision.
Because do they have to, is there a path so they don't have to wait a week or whatever or something, so they're able to tell the contractor, yeah, we're going to do this. Get them moving.
Certainly look at it.
Yeah, at this point, I don't think the code allows us to like move forward with the work and then come back through. But if there was support, we could certainly.
We could have gone for tonight's workshop as an open discussion.
Oh yeah, we can do that too. So that'd be an excellent idea.
Yeah, you can just bring it up. Right? Discussion.
It's already in the budget, not for no anything.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter if it's in the budget or not, right? I'm thinking of other things that happen. You know, if you.
Where weather is, it could lie wait longer.
Right, it's both the rain's coming or the snow.
Thursday's going to be wet again too.
It's that time of year.
And just so you know, we do have the area sealed off until we can get to the work, so to minimize the health concerns.
There's no one sleeping there in that spot there.
Not in that particular room, but there is a bed on the other side of the wall. So
I would think we should have tonight's budget.
Yeah, let's try it. Workshop. Why not? You know, we got that stupid presentation by who knows what for whatever reason. You know, we can do that.
Did you want that in the notes, Dan?
Kingdom of
I make a motion, right? We make a motion here that it's going forward tonight. I agree that I approve this, and then we should.
Yeah, we'll take it downstairs.
Okay.
Unless the lawyer tells us that we're doing something absurdly wrong, we'll try to.
I have a question though. How much more how bad is the area around the spot? Do we anticipate more problems later on in that area?
I don't think so, because it's
I don't believe
picture a walk-in closet, right, next to this room. And it's right on the roof edge, so there's a vent above it that has leaked the flashing. And it ran down the sheeting and then down over the plate between the wall and the sheetrock.
Start causing the problem.
Correct. And we noticed the sheetrock changing color. And so Mike went in there and started taking that out to see what was going on, because there's no access to the attic area where that leak came from. So, and that's when he discovered what he thought might be mold. We're not experts, but he stopped there, sealed up the room, and we called the contractor.
Yeah. Nice.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Alrighty, so regular business then items, moving down to the resolution 3134 for our leak detection stuff. I assume kind of what we do every year.
That is.
It's the agenda bill 2339, resolution 3134, obviously, authorizing the mayor to sign a contract with Hydrivo LLC for the 2023 leak detection survey. The Washington State Department of Health mandates a goal of 10% water distribution system leakage, DSL, or unaccounted for water. Staff utilizes many tools and procedures to continually work towards lowering the amount of water that is unaccounted for and lost through the leaks in buried piping or infrastructure. One of the most successful methods used has been through the use of a leak detection service. The service uses state-of-the-art technology, technicians, equipment to listen to all the water system appurtenances to detect the sounds of leakage. Once they have identified the potential leak, they pinpoint and correlate the location of the leak for the city staff to excavate and to repair the leaks. Since 2014, the city has utilized point-to-point leak detection method. The annual goal of the leak detection survey is to target valves, hydrants, and service lines, meters. The annual goal of the leak detection survey is to target approximately 20 to 25% of the system based on total infrastructure. 2022 survey was conducted in the north and northwest portions of the distribution system. The survey covered approximately 60 miles of pipe and identified 23 leaks totaling almost 17 million gallons of water per year lost. An invitation to quote was sent February 2nd, 2023 to all leak detection vendors on the MRSC Small Works roster. Two proposals were received February 23rd. Hydrivo LLC for $22,680, $81 per hour for 280 hours. And the other one was from Mum Waterworks Management LLC for $49,000, $175 an hour for 280 hours. We are requesting approval of moving forward with the Hydrivo contract.
Do this all the time. How are you seeing improvement?
Yes.
Over the years, and we've done it forever and stuff.
Yes. At one point, we were at 21% leakage throughout the system, and now we're down. We went up a little bit last year. We were down to like 6.65 or 6.6. We bumped up a little bit last year to 6.67. So it's beneficial. The guys that do it are really good at what they do. So, and we're following right behind them and fixing the leaks as they find them as fast as we can get out there. Sometimes we don't even allow them to correlate.
Good.
So depending on staff availability and what other items we have going on that day.
Even better with this though, the contract itself, we're actually able to get up to 50% of the system done this year, instead of the regular 20 to 25. So
That's awesome.
we're getting a really good deal on this one.
Excellent.
They come out. How did they get awarded the contract? Is that?
Yes. Yep. We sent it out to bid.
That's the vendors. Okay.
Yes, we've used him multiple times in the past.
Okay.
Have you ever used Munn Waterworks before?
I have not personally.
Looks like a pretty big delta between the two. Is that typical or?
I think the reason that we're getting the deal on this that we're getting is because the gentleman that owns Hydrivo lives in the area, so he's not paying for airline tickets, hotel packages, food for his staff. So
The big difference.
yeah, it's huge.
Nice. Good. Good with me.
I'm good.
Okay. So we can move this to the next available consent.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And then back to the Doug 3128.
That's familiar.
Yeah, thanks for rewriting this, Doug. It makes much more sense now.
Yes, it has.
Okay.
So yes, this 3128 resolution, this is pretty much the same as as you saw a couple of weeks ago. The main difference we changed is I did not include the encumbrances in the current balance line items, and I'll leave it at that and let you ask questions.
Sure. No, it's just
It's
reads
good now.
well,
It's easier to read
for
the rest of council.
for us low information people. Got to make it easy for the public to look at.
Sorry, Doug. Thank you.
Any
Kelly.
new questions, Kelly, or anything? So we'll move this one forward to the next available consent agenda.
Great.
Yep.
I should be fine with it. Right.
Back up to the stormwater management thing. Well, this one looks like we're going to talk about tonight in the executive session, right?
That's correct.
So unless we have some bizarre reason to redo everything twice, I would suggest that we move that conversation to that area. Is that appropriate?
Yeah, certainly they're available for anything to discuss aside from legal risk, which is something that would be specifically addressed in executive session. But if there is any other questions that we could help you with, we could certainly do that. But if you all are ready to just go straight to executive session to discuss, we can just table this and have that discussion then.
Yeah. Is Andrew or anybody that's like familiar with it going to be available for that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be there.
Okay, good. Cool.
Great.
I'll give you a break for an hour or something.
Lucky you, Aaron.
911 thing.
Yes.
911 thing. That's important work.
We can discuss it later. Okay, so let's go with that one. We'll move along to the Allen Road Athletic Box. Yeah, at some
Nice
point, if we
picture.
ever have one.
Like that. Yeah,
Curtis will get you. Let me know when your field is actually available.
Yeah, send me a text. We got
You know,
blacktop top
yeah,
now.
blacktop now.
Asphalt. Yay.
Dan, side note, I've noticed no one's reserved the fields for Little League yet.
We did.
I just noticed it
Last
on the
week or
calendar.
something like that?
Okay.
Okay, yeah, it should be on there. I
Okay.
called, what's her name, got it all done for the Lake
Okay.
or whatever, just for the regular one.
Yep.
Because that new one is the new thing. That's gonna be a whole separate
Perfect.
thing.
All right. So, yes, we're going to have that new park here built, constructed sometime this year. And so we were actually looking at the actual operations of this. And what was important is we actually visited 3 different fields actually earlier last year.
Correct. Yeah, it
About
was in
last year.
fall of last year.
And what we want to do is show what that field's going to look like. Next page. Basically, what that field's going to look like, what's the amenities of that field. We're going to talk about also how that integrates into the city of Bonney Lake with our current responsibilities, our operations, and then we'll show you what other facilities are doing when they operate their fields. And then we'll have some discussions because there's a number of items that we should talk about that may need some ordinance changes. This is the field itself, and this is actually from the plan set. Doug's going to be familiar with this. Basically, it's a multi-purpose synthetic field. You've got the soccer field out of it. You have a Little League baseball field, which includes the bleachers, the dugouts, the bullpen, a restroom area with drink and water fountain, outdoor lights. There's going to be a children's play area in the upper left that you'll see, and that'll be a separate discussion of how that's going to be implemented. We have a plaza section that's going to be to the north of it, and then a parking lot for about 97 cars. This is the actual current pictures, I think as of 3 weeks ago. On the left is that plaza area that we're talking about. Might be a good area for ribbon cutting. Maybe that could be this discussion later on. Also, we got the restrooms in the upper right. You'll see that blue line, that's actually the drinking fountain. And then that picture in the bottom right is the actual field itself. It's standing from the field looking out to the water. You'll see the backstop area pretty tall, but then also you'll see the field turf itself. The reason why it's 2 different colors is because it's actually laying down. They rolled it out. It's when you actually put the granular beads that it actually starts standing up. But you also notice that the actual infield is colored brown. It's actually carpeted that way. And the paint lines in there is also carpeted. It's not actual paint that we put on there. This is some of the maintenance that you're going to see that's involved with this field. In the upper left, what's kind of hard to see is there's actually some string and some line out there. Remember that we can't cut it. Whenever there's actually netting, sunflower seeds, we actually have to physically scrape it up and throw it away. There's no cutting. There's a lot of work to that. It's pretty intensive.
If I can add,
Go ahead.
we're already seeing pine cones, tree limbs, pine needles from the nearby trees on it too. So
Oh,
that stuff will have to be cleaned up.
thanks for bringing
daily.
that up. Yeah, and part of it too, it is a carpet. So if there's a tear in it, we're actually stitching it, or we're actually replacing a whole square of it. A little bit different. On the right is actually Auburn uses that. It's a machine that they use to actually scrape all that stuff that we're talking about. And so we're just gonna have to find some equipment and find a place to store it.
So explain why you're scraping it. Well, I know the
If I
vacuum is
can.
for a rug, but what's
So
the difference?
the actual equipment is a broom, and it rotates as it goes across the turf. It lifts the blades and helps re-level the sand and the beads or the crumb rubber that's in there, and keeps it in good shape.
Yeah.
And picks up any debris, branches, sunflower seeds, all the stuff that's not supposed to be there.
The cross
Throws it
sticks,
in a hopper.
You can't just blow it off.
You could, but this machine also, how can I, it's like going to the beauty salon and get your hair done.
Flex it up.
It maintains the integrity of the blades of the turf.
Yeah, and remember it's a grass, like that previous picture I showed you, it kind of lays down. We want to make sure it's up, and I'll go into that a little bit more too. There you go. On the upper left, sports equipment, placement, and storage. So remember that we're going to have a lot of goals, lacrosse, soccer that we're going to place in sites. We even have rugby.
Rugby, soccer, lacrosse, baseball, the pitcher's mound, the baseball, or the bases have to be placed.
Yeah. So we're going to have a lot of relocating of that equipment and storing it. The bottom right is actually the rubber granules that you push on it. Like you see here, heavy use area, it's going to be really kicking up the granules. We actually have to go back and install it and put it in place. What that actually does is it lessens the impact. And every year we actually have to do a GBAC test that tests that impact. The softer it is, the more safety you get, less performance, harder is more performance. So they really got to get that number right. And that's usually determined on how they construct it, the materials used, even the weather, and even just the level of play. It'll give you that balance to it.
Well, the granule is just part of the material itself.
Correct. So
It built into it, but you have to add to
the
it.
crumb rubber and sand mixture hold the blades up. If you look at it right now, if you went there right now, the blades are literally laying down. All that material holds them up, and the crumb rubber also adds to the cushion of the turf itself.
You do get you down sometime. Look at it.
Yeah, we should anytime.
Yeah, anytime
you want.
Anytime you should go look at it.
Okay.
Upper left, of course, you're going to have trash. This is actually one of the fields, and I'm not going to name whose it is. But yeah, there is trash out there as we were out in the facility. That's something that we're also going to have to deal with, especially with the use that we're expecting. Bottom right is the scheduling. A lot of places have a kiosk that puts a schedule. We are already getting a lot of requests, and a lot of them are actually from outside of the city too. So that's going to be a next effort for us.
Are you doing them online? Your requests are going online?
Right now, we just get the phone calls, and they're asking for when we could actually start reserving the field. We have to wait for the construction to be done, and then including the GMAX test to make sure that it's safe for concussion protocols and stuff. And now we're
So,
going to.
can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
So is there an existing regulation?
Not that I saw.
I believe there's a threshold so a GMAX test tests the field for the impact, right? And it has to be, there's a threshold of where it can be too hard. So like particularly in front of the goals, those materials, the crumb rubber and sand, get pushed out, carried away in shoes, heavily used area. Those areas have to be refreshed occasionally to meet that impact test.
What's that cost to test it?
I got a quote for a company to come out once, since it's a new field. They'll come out, look at the field, do the GMAC test, and I want to say the GMAC test itself is a little over $1,000, but then the rest of the maintenance would be about $3,000 for once a year. And they come out and refresh it, inspect it. They'll do any repairs necessary,
That's good.
that type of thing.
So yes, that's more that we got to take a look at to make sure we find it. But there's your standard. That's a great point. So now we'll talk about how this integrates into our park system. This is our current responsibilities. That picture on the upper right is actual Fennel Creek. Actually, really great trail,
Beautiful
really nice
trail.
done. So if you haven't had a chance, go visit it. We have 8
You need
parking.
signs to find it though sometimes,
We can
Where
work
is
on
it?
that.
I've been looking for it. I can't.
We're focusing on this right now.
We keep getting lost in that storage place now.
Ryan.
So we have 8 parks and trailheads, Allen York, Victor Falls, a whole bunch of them, 4 playgrounds, boat launches, kayak rentals. Important numbers, 142 acres of total areas that we maintain, 7 acres to mow, 7 miles of trails.
You got 2 people, you're in good shape.
You know, we're getting to that. We're getting to that here
I
next.
know that you're joking.
We're getting to that next here. Thanks for the support on that. And so this is the current park operations based on the 2 people. And Bonney Lake Code says that we basically parks our hours are dawn to dusk. Current staffing out levels, again, 2 people, parks lead, maintenance worker 2. Because of that, 40-hour work week. We go from 6 to 2:30 in the summertime, 7 to 3:30 in the wintertime. That's because we want to get out there before we actually open the park, clean it up a little bit. But based on the hours, you kind of see where we end the day. And we have to do that. Sometimes we actually have to request staff from sewer and street and water to help out, usually it's by overtime. And that changes even when we have to do boat launch, parking, helping out the PD and activities during the wintertime we just have a lot of work out there. Biggest key figure that you see on there, 2022 National Recreation and Park Association, they actually recommend staffing of 19.3 acres per FTE, and that's a national organization that actually measures those metrics. We're at 71. Just another figure. Now, the interesting thing you see up there, that truck, that is a typical day for us. We do what we call rounds. Is every 2 hours in the morning, we're actually cleaning up and prepping all the parks. That is what it looks like. When we had those 100-degree days about 2 years ago, we had 5 of those, and I'm not exaggerating with the numbers. It was 5 in one day.
Off the beach.
Off the beach. So every day that you have hot weather, we have that. And so we're adding that 2 hours in the day, and we figure another hour to 2 hours for this Allen Kirk Park. So really, before lunch, we're just prepping the fields, and then after lunch is when we're going to start doing like graffiti, addressing graffiti and any other park activities. So we're going to be pretty busy with this thing. So now we'll go into what actually other parks are doing in the area. City Kent has one called the Wilson Playfield. 2 full fields, 1 mob field. They're open from 9 to 9 p.m. They actually have 3 designated staff that start and end the day at that park. Lights off at 9 p.m. at night. What they say that they do, they broom, they sweep the fields weekly, resupply with rubber granules by hand once a week. They have that same service contract twice a year. Rental rates, full field is $80 an hour and $25 for lights. During the peak season, end of the day, it's $40 for peak. City of Auburn, they have one called the Game Farm. Same type of field is similar to us, 2 full fields. They're actually Saturdays 9 to 11 p.m., Sundays 9 to 4 p.m. Rental rates, youth is $41 an hour, $20 lights, $51 for adults, $20 for lights. Tournaments at $1,000 a day or $1,400 for 2 days. City Kent also has a bigger field called Hogan Bay. They actually charge $1,900 for a weekend. And what I saw similar with that 11 p.m. is that when they have a tournament, that's when they go to 11 o'clock at night. Generally, 9 to 9. Biggest point you see in the bottom, both Kent, Auburn, and the Bonney Lake School District, they suggested, or high school, they suggest daily use, heavy use during the evening, especially on the weekends. That's something we should be expecting. And with the calls that we're getting for the reservations, it seems to make sense.
Yeah, Auburn also has 3 to 4 full-time staff at Game Farm. They actually have a shop there that they work out of. So,
yeah. This is a key point that I was pointing to why I highlighted the field rental. In our code right now, on Lake field rate is $15 for a 2-hour block, meaning it's $7.50 an hour. And that's why I included that nice chart showing that $7.50, $51 for Auburn, $80 for Kent, same with the lights. Nothing for us in the lights because we don't have any. And so that's the thought process is, we should maybe consider being the same as a similar facility, which is Auburn, $50 an hour and $20. But we'll list that next here. So next we have questions and discussions. Certainly if you have questions, we'll answer it, but it would be great if we could talk about the rental fees that you think and the hours of use, and then we can talk about next steps.
Yeah, you think you definitely want to match up with what a comparable facility is in the region.
It makes sense that we're trying to match them, and then it really encourages use of that park, especially if it's similar to us.
Yeah, because you don't
Makes
want to
sense.
have a very big differential because then you get people, well, we'll go use Bonney Lake. Because, you know.
Yeah, especially at 7:50 an hour. Yeah.
Well, that's for the regular grass. But then you have to match that up with your level of facility and stuff too, right? Yeah. Some of those are like really nice fields, but they're putting a lot of work in.
Does Lakeridge School District, does Lakeridge rent theirs out? Or is that just school district only?
I don't know that.
I don't know.
I would assume they rent it out because on the weekends I see other sports, you know,
I don't
soccer.
know if they rent them out or not. I don't think we've ever had to.
Well, they've had a lot of requests for
Lily's ever had to pay for any of them, but some of those are really pathetic.
Well, no, the new one at Lakeridge, the new turf field.
Yeah, they've got new turf,
They
new
did something like
bleachers.
2 years ago.
Busy on the weekend.
Oh, okay, that one.
That
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
haven't
yeah,
checked.
I was thinking talking about the fish one. I forget what it is, but yeah. So,
So do we want to do something where, clubs local to the city get a break as opposed to?
yeah, you always get into that weird stuff, right? It's kind of like, oh, if you're a nonprofit, it's this rate. If you're a for-profit, you're this rate. If you're out of the city, it's this rate. If you're in the city, it's this rate. Kind of thing.
Get the LSAs do that too, do you know? Or nonprofits?
Some do. Yeah, I think, I don't know if Auburn, but Kent, one of them did that. They actually had a different rate for within the city when you're not. For us, since we don't really know what the use is going to be, we feel that we should probably set it at a pace of the $50 where you're sitting at the even market and then we're tracking the metrics and then we can really evaluate then how to disperse it.
That's probably the easy part. The hard part for me seems to be how are you going to take care of these things with two people or whatever we're going to do. Right?
Yes.
You know, what's the proposal in that area is whether are you able to use outside companies or
We have some money for a service contract, but that's only going to be once or twice a year. But the daily
Right.
use that we need, and depending on the type of use that we're getting, which we anticipate a lot, it's going to be tough for us.
It's gonna need daily maintenance,
oh yeah,
whether it be
Just for the field.
brooming the field, picking up garbage, cleaning the bathrooms,
Should be,
graffiti.
yeah,
I don't know if you've noticed all the new grass that they've planted up there,
yeah.
and that's all hand mowing. Cause it's the way it's
all
formed
on
and
the hill,
shaped.
yeah. I was thinking about that. I drove by it. I said, why do we put so much grass?
Lots of irrigation to take care of.
The
Well, would you anticipate just hiring one full-time
$37,000.
person just to do that then?
Oh,
I
What
would.
was that, Sherry?
Sorry. The council approved $37,000 in the budget for the turf maintenance contract.
So how does that compare to what you're looking at here then?
that's
And
amazing.
the charges, the ID you have?
Right now, we're going to use a lot of just the regular parks maintenance, but yes, we will bring them out probably 2 to 3 times a year.
Yep.
I
And
imagine.
it depends, as the field gets older, it will need more of that quarterly annual maintenance, right? When they come out and inspect the field, do any repairs, do the GMAX test.
The toughest thing with us is the hours of use, because like I said, we leave at 2:30 just because it's a 40-hour work week.
Yeah.
We're not going to be able to close it, and if we have anything that goes to 9, we're not going to be there unless we're paying somebody overtime. So yes, we are on the personnel side.
That's the hard part, right? Trying to figure out what the proposals are in that area. I don't know if the schools do they, they probably don't have near the use that we do or something. How do they?
Honestly, when we spoke with the Sumner School District, he said, expect that field to be rented 7 days a week.
Yeah. That would be the idea, right? That's kind of the easy part is getting people to use it.
Oh,
The hard part's taking care of it.
the request we're getting, yeah, definitely, it's going to be high usage area.
Would you guys have any oh, this is what we need to do. We need to hire this firm, or we need to hire 5 more people, or we need to
For me, the 2 staff would be good.
So as part of the 23-24 budget request, I just did push forward to the mayor's office a request for 2 additional parks employees. I believe that it's about there. But I've been asking for park staff for the last several budgets. You know, it is something we're at a breaking point. We're beyond a breaking point here. We can't maintain all of
Been that
this.
way for years.
And this is an investment of additional $5, $6, $7 million here that very quickly is going to fall into disrepair if we don't have the assistance.
And I'm, soapboxing it, but parks guys not only take care of the parks, but they take care of the vegetation around the buildings.
Oh, yeah.
Other places too. So.
Exactly. All the things like that. What do you do in the more off time with, if you had like more staff members? Because
Pre-pruning,
when there's too much snow
vegetation
on the
control,
ground,
repairs.
Watering the flower baskets along here.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're
loaded.
Yeah, during the winter, you do all your pruning, painting, repairs, all that type of stuff, right?
That's where we could do the work on Cascade Water. They lowered the water levels. We could work on the docks and stuff.
The new trails are
trails.
weekly maintenance. It doesn't matter what season it is. Those are, constant maintenance. So,
Lots of pruning out there too on those trails.
heck yeah.
Lots of pruning out.
The graffiti's a big problem too. That's a weekly thing.
Actually,
So, there's, with this new field, there is a liability issue there too, because if we're not able to maintain and a consistent and safe playing surface, then the potential for head injuries exists, and that can be a problem. So it just, without dwelling too much on that, without some more conversation maybe with the city attorney, we really need to put our heads together to figure out how it is that we're going to assume this additional maintenance, keep it safe, and keep it a sustainable operation, because right now we will not be able to
I'm
without.
assuming you've thought about the income from charging the people who use the fields. So what income would you anticipate help cover offset the cost of new personnel?
Well, this is a new field, so I don't know that we know exactly what to anticipate as far as revenue. One of the ideas that Jack and I were discussing is that we would set rates now and then come back in a year after we've gone through a season to see exactly what those rentals look like, and maybe adjust accordingly. And in addition to that, we have to change that $15 for 2-hour blocks for the rest of the field as well.
You should do that
There is
after 8
no-
months in or?
Right, yeah, because this field can't be rented right now anyways. It doesn't have any kind of association. We don't have any charges for it. We don't know what.
right.
So it's totally new.
Yeah, that's the next steps for us. And it's a great point. We wanted to actually do the code revisions. There's one section that talks about the $15. We can make a specific code just for Allendorf Park. And then we could also adjust the hours of use instead of like the dawn to dusk. We'd say until 9 o'clock or whatever that. And we wanted to hear your opinion on that. And that would be like a future CDC, which maybe is the next one.
Yeah, because that's probably, we definitely need to just rates or whatever for that field. And
Yeah, so when somebody has it like late at night, how's that work? Maintenance crews just come out in the morning, the lights are automatic.
Yeah, we could set
The lighting is programmable, so you could do it that way. There are also gates that need to be closed and locked at the end of the day, or when the field is being used. You could either have full-time staff, adjust their shifts so they can be there in the evening to do that. Other discussion was made of maybe having the particular sport group that's reserving it, they're required to have a field marshal on hand to maintain the rules and make sure everything's being done properly. And, there's a couple of different ways. The best way would be to have full-time employee there.
And I would add that we've had some good discussions with Bonney Lake Little League and Mount Rainier FC about being able to provide some assistance with picking up after their games, emptying trash and so on, which is very much appreciated, obviously, but it's not going to necessarily account for all the events or everything else that's going on out there. I just wanted to throw a pitch in for that.
Part of that rate structure too could involve that, right? Because if the group says, hey, we have the ability to do this, and if they're, I don't know, whatever, if they're bona fide or something, and it's like, as long as you're checking that off or whatever you guys want them to do, send us a picture of the gate locked at the end of the day, okay, check in, we got you, you're good, you did leave it and said, That would be, they would have that rate structure maybe or something. I don't know. It depends on, who knows? Because some of the groups are going to rent it for a while, and some of the people are going to want one-time use or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that. Thought of that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Looks like when they're using the field at Kelly Farms, that there's someone in part of the group that has the keys. Around in the mornings that they get at 9 o'clock.
Right.
Wait, that person shows up and they lock it back up and they leave.
That's the Rainier soccer,
Yeah, Mount Rainier football
Mount
club.
Rainier soccer, and I don't know what kind of deal they got with Corliss.
A good one.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure, but it seems like they're kind of taking care of it themselves,
Right.
which would be
Exactly.
the same thing we could do too.
Well,
Possibly.
Some, yeah. Some.
I don't know. We got a lot more cost when we invest in this compared to the grassy field.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that with that, I mean, obviously they'd be picking up trash, they'd be making sure the gates are locked up and stuff, but they're not doing the actual field maintenance as well. And that really is the labor intensive, expensive part of it.
and to me, that's important to maintain that field like it should, because we want it to last a long time.
Yeah.
We can't just ignore it and defer the maintenance, right?
Nope.
Yeah, so we certainly have a lot of stuff that we're still considering. Important thing though is in order to reserve the field, it'd be great if, we'll push forward maybe next CDC some proposal of a rate. If you're comfortable with the 50, we might even look at that and the metrics of it. And the hours of use, how did you feel about that? The 9 to 9?
Well, again, whatever they do in the regions, whatever. Unless you guys are like, oh, this doesn't work because of X, Y, Z or something. But the expectation is the groups that we can usually rent these parks with lights till 9. In the area, it's kind of like, okay, well, we do 9 until we figure out why that doesn't work.
I felt good with the 9 to 9. At 11 o'clock, remember, that was like the only
Maybe that's
thing that was
special
common was the
event.
tournaments. It was the tournaments, and I don't know if we're ready to
That's
do
the $1,000
tournaments yet.
level.
Right.
Right. I think too, where they do tournaments, it's more of an open space and perhaps not so residential also. So there's that
That's
noise.
a good point.
We'll have to worry about residential.
Yeah.
There are a couple of homes right next door or across the street that I'm sure we'll get calls on, if not the lighting, the noise.
Yeah.
That's what we've already talked about. I'm really concerned about those there. Yeah.
So we'll be looking at the noise ordinance and also I don't know what type of, we'll just have to limit, you have speakers or something out there too. So we'll be looking at that.
9 to 9 seems reasonable.
And would be within what our noise would
Right. I'd agree with that.
So have we considered a public-private partnership with like MRSC and like a Plateau Sports Coalition that can take over like the maintenance and
They have they've had groups.
Yeah, we've talked with the different sports groups, if that's what kind of you're alluding to. Yeah, we have talked with them, and some have offered to help with cleanup after their games, that kind of stuff, locking up gates, those types of things.
Because I think down in Sumner, they did the weird agreement with Port of Daffodil with a group or something. I don't know.
Yeah, they do have a different kind of arrangement down there. Yeah. Yeah, I
Obviously, they probably can't do, but I just point is that everything's on the table.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously what we're dealing with here is a problem with revenue. We've got assets here that require significant maintenance if we don't have the resources and the funds we need to take care of them. So something like I don't.
Yeah, but I would think, is it what I'm trying to say is, so we haven't looked at can we lease the field to an outside coalition that can take care of it, right? Because if we're going to lock it up, right? If we're going to put a lock on it, lock it up, and we're going to only allow people who are scheduled to use it, right? Then I'm thinking, why wouldn't we try to find an economic way to let somebody manage the field for us, right? Because otherwise, we're bringing it in, and we have a lot of extra. The city has extra burden. That's maybe those organizations.
So you're in essence similar to the way the city-owned properties, we work with a property manager,
Right.
Some kind of arrangement where we would bring in somebody who would be a field manager.
Yeah, exactly.
The only other thing we need to remember is there'll be a really nice playground there. And I think we'll get people coming in just to utilize the playground also, right? And so not just the field maintenance, but that playground, people will want
so you
access
make that
to
part of
it.
the deal. You want the field, you take care of the playground.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you can find somebody, right? That's always a trick. I don't know who. Is the like in Renton?
It is a trick. I'm not saying it's not, you know,
It's
but-
soccer.
That's
And
right.
obviously, it's the whole complex.
And that's just someone from the outside to take care of the field for us in those longer hours, because the problem I'm concerned with is the winter. And we're gonna hire 3 or 4 people to help maintain this. I know you have other things you work on in the winter, they may not be that, they're not gonna play when it's pouring down rain. You got staff the parks aren't gonna go out and put down limbs and stuff. Be an outside service kind of overseeing this for us. And have them come in when you have people scheduled. I think even though it will cost us more in the long run, it might be easier on the staffing wise.
I would want to say though, Tom, I totally get where you're coming from, and that would be a concern for us too. But at this point, I would have no problem keeping an additional 2 parks employees busy during the winter months. Not a problem.
Well,
I could probably keep another 4 busy.
and if it's
Easy.
going to be as
Can they be stormwater people? too?
as busy as everybody else
I
has said,
have to.
recognize this too. Soccer, they plan everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lacrosse does the same thing.
Washington County Farms, I drive by there, they're pouring down rain.
Yep, and they don't, the only time they stop is if there's lightning out there. I've sat and watched them in snowstorms.
Yeah,
So,
I was gonna say, we played in lots of snowstorms.
We
Yep.
haven't even heard from rugby yet.
Oh, you have been soccer?
yes, and rugby plays in any
And
weather too.
I think once rugby figures out that it's available, there's a rugby.
Yeah, we participated in a field and where we came from, and it was open till 11 on the, and it was packed,
Yeah.
right? It was packed, and it actually, that was some of the best time, right?
You know, and also I thought about as Holly people, got a lot of kids out there. I mean, the schools, you know, the school up
They're
already,
not allowed. No.
but they're gonna end up using it, we're charging them for it.
Yeah, 3 times
So-
the fee.
We'll put a surcharge on them specifically.
Have a geolocated tag on that.
So we could even, Sean being busy, I could even add to the amount of groups out there.
Oh, yeah.
They have nothing.
Well, I just want to bring up, the gates that they talk about, the gates are for the parking lot area.
Yeah.
So you cannot drive in, which is, needed. You don't want kids hanging out there. But there are pedestrian pathways that enter the park area for the playground, the future playground.
Yeah,
And just the walking area around that, those are not gated out. Those at the moment are designed for people to use that
Whenever.
3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, the park is
3 o'clock in the
accessible
afternoon.
by foot 24/7.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like the Alan York, I mean, after the park, the police, if they see him there, they'll stop and ask him to leave, because when I've been riding with them, they'll go in the park and tell them to leave.
When you're with
That's because you're riding with them, Tom.
Yeah, credit guys. Believe me.
Tom says
They
it
are
now.
not asking
Yeah.
anybody to leave when I say it 2 times. So the conversation about the playground, was that like totally later, or is that, what are we doing with that?
I'm still catching up on email.
Yeah, so what I would suggest is we have some quotes from a company to supply both the soft surfacing, the play surface, and the installation of the playground itself. What we talked about very quickly with Doug was that we bring that back to a future CDC to discuss that separately
That'd be great.
as its own small scale project.
Yeah.
I'd agree.
Because it was originally, we had the equipment right,
Mhm.
and the original concept was kind of like a community event kind of thing. It's pretty much the venue's kind of there and they can.
Yeah, we were going down that path actually, and then we started to get a better understanding of what we need to do to install it.
Okay.
And
So
we
it's
just
all
thought,
technical?
maybe it's better to just
Technical.
have professionals do it and be
Yeah.
done with it.
Too much, usually. But that doesn't mean you can't invite a few people to
Absolutely.
watch. You know, say, hey,
Absolutely.
good job. You're good. You're
Yeah.
watching good. You're watching. You're gonna stand over there.
So when do you think it's a ready use at this point? Love it.
Well, whenever the 7 days of dryness comes.
7 to 10
Yeah.
dry days.
Right, if you haven't, if you've driven by recently, they did get the asphalt down last week, which is great. It looks a lot better. I myself, I was on vacation, but I drove by there today. And, they still have several items they need to finish up. We're shooting for a substantial completion, 1 month from now. They can't stripe the asphalt for the parking spaces, for 30 days. And that's, so we're pushing for everything to be ready to do a substantial completion. But it's that, and the infill of the turf itself, the rubber sand mix that needs to be placed, that needs those 7 quote unquote. I sent an email out today asking to the people that we have a contract with to do finish up the turf. Well, see if I can get an update of what's going on, because I don't, and not to be forgotten about. But, my best guess, we typically get a week or two of nice weather in May, and usually most of the time we don't get that extended dryness before then. So that's my best guess.
My concern is that all of a sudden it's going to get nice, and all of a sudden it's going to be all done. You're state of rock and roll. You don't have any FTEs to help fill in the spaces out there. I mean, I would think like right now you should come forward at least one FTE to start off with, so you're ready to run. Because otherwise,
you have no authorization.
but you got the money. Sherry said the money is on this side.
Wasn't what? Sherry said there's $37,000 maintenance contract, which is
that what she said?
technical people.
Well, I'm just saying, in a
Service
month, 2 months,
contract.
you're not going to say, we've got 2 people and we're trying to keep this field cleaned up.
I'm happy to bring my decision card back from that.
I wish I had known that. I would have pushed for that. It would make obvious. I know I've been down enough to what's going on. I know how messy it can be, how much a challenge is that way.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I know you have been. Go ahead, Sherry.
Yeah, there's a lot of competing interests, Tom. You also have recreation that you're going to be discussing and how to pay for that. There's $400,000 in the hole for recreation folks. So I think there's a bigger discussion that needs to be had to include parks maintenance folks. So
Thanks, Sherry. We appreciate you keeping us on honest.
Keep that checkbook open, Sherry.
I can solve it short term.
No, yeah. Good. I agree with what Tom said. We can at least open discussion maybe with the budget.
Yeah.
To say, hey,
now
I
we
want
know
to remind you,
Yeah.
we recognize there's a gap over here that needs to do something with. Yeah.
Okay, I'm done.
Yeah. Cool. Look forward to that. Hey, park thing discussion at some point.
Yeah, we'll get that on an agenda here.
Because we have the equipment.
Yep.
And we'll bring forward the one that's for the hour change.
Yeah, that'd be,
I'll call you.
Absolutely.
that'd be good.
Tomorrow will be a good chance.
Any open
If you're
discussion
available.
items?
Wait, what about minutes?
Yeah, well, so I
Minutes are
have a
good.
question. Is
They're
there
good
any way
for
we
us.
can get I guess I kind of would like to see, the MRFC and Bonney Lake Little League, and maybe have we reached out to them to try to get them here to this meeting so we can talk about how they can support?
We brought them into CDC, but we can certainly extend the invitation. I'm sure we've had great conversations with Bonney Lake Little League. I am sure that I believe his name is Joel, is the president, that he'd be willing to come in and talk with you all.
But I think it's going to take more than just Little League, right?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to take, right?
I think I've had a couple meetings with Doug Clevenger from Mount Rainier Football Club. I'm sure he'd be willing to come in and talk as
I
well.
know there's a lacrosse league, and then there's the rugby league. I thought was like Sumner. I don't know.
It'd be nice to know an idea who's interested. Put those dollars that you talked about for rental on paper and say, okay, this is, we anticipate maybe this many people bringing this much money. This is where we have something to work from. Right now, we're just throwing the dice out and guessing. I hate just hire people without.
Well, and I would just suggest though that because we have such an interest in getting this field rented, that we go ahead and come back with a fee structure of some kind,
Yeah, I would agree.
which we could always change at a later date. So if you're supportive of that, that's the direction we'll go in at
I
the
just
same
don't
time.
want you to be running,
Yeah.
trying to catch up.
I think short term also, a quick thought. If you wanted to throw ARPA money at some seasonal hires for him for this summer until we can figure out like Ryan was saying, a year from now, he'll have a better idea of how often the field will be rented and how much income we'll be bringing in. So, I would recommend you use some of your ARPA monies and allow them, X amount of dollars to hire some seasonal folks for parks.
We'll keep that in mind. Good
Yeah.
idea.
The past couple of years,
Keep
we've
that
had
money.
difficulty getting enough summer help.
Well, I know you've always struggled. You always had a problem.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
we're
that's
talking about hiring full
Full
time.
time though.
but using the ARPA money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then next year we can look at how to
See
actually
if it
fund
can
it.
be self-sustaining.
Right.
Good idea, Sherry.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'm good.
I'm good. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
We're adjourned.
You're amazing.